How do I, 25M, get over past hurts from my partner, 25F? Wall of text warning. My partner and I have been together since junior year of high school. As such, we've been through growing pains together and had to basically adjust to a new person every so often through this relationship. We both grew up in a fundamentalist church and decided to use college as a way to escape from that life as soon as we could. In our college years, my partner's mental illness struggles were highlighted. They were present before, but with the pressures of leaving a toxic community behind, that spied on us a few times, by the way, she felt that she had no other friends besides me and held on to me tightly for fear of losing her only perceived friend. I knew I felt uncomfortable with this at the time, but I also had the fear that maybe no one else could love or understand me due to the perceived unique experience that we had growing up in that church. She also told me on numerous occasions that if I left, she would live herself. So, out of a sense of obligation and a fear of being unlovable, I stayed. I found that I became isolated from my social groups. I started college in ROTC, and thus had plenty of friends by association there. I also loved Magic, the Gathering, and played since high school, so I had some old friends from that and made new friends through the love of that game. But if I did go, I would get a response ranging from passive-aggressive remarks to a full-on breakdown beforehand. And while I was out, I would get excessive calls or texts asking where I was at and what time I would be back, and wanting to know about who was there. So eventually I decided that it was too much effort to go out, and instead decided that it was easier to just stay with her all the time. Friends would invite me out, and I would usually come up with some kind of excuse like, "Oh, I've got homework," or "Oh, I've got this thing I'm doing with partner." Eventually they got the hint and just stopped inviting me. I think a few knew what was going on but didn't know how to approach that situation. Eventually, she did get help, started seeing a therapist, and eventually got treatment. She put in the work and started doing better, and I thought I was happy. We went through years together making great memories, but there was always something in the back of my mind that kept eating at me. And for the longest time, I couldn't even put words to what I was feeling. I had pushed it down so deep. But it has since come to the surface due to talking with close friends, starting therapy earlier this year. In an effort to keep things as brief as I can, I have been feeling unresolved resentment from our early years. I am finding that much of my needs are met through social interactions with other people, and that I find a deep and genuine joy just through meeting new people and hearing their stories and lived experiences. To finally rediscover that part of myself is jarring, because I convinced myself I was an introvert and just needed my partner, but that's not the case. It feels like I have betrayed myself in a deep and irrevocable way, and truthfully, if I had listened to my gut back, then I would have broke things off. But the hardest part is that my partner is better now. She's a great and kind person who helps people and makes others' lives better. She is not the same person she was before, not by a mile. But there's a part of me that still holds on to the nights where I was isolated from those around me and made to feel like her life was in my hands, and me spending time with others meant that her blood would be on my hands. And even in recent years, she would always be suspicious of new friends. It took mountains of effort to convince her that our current best friends were not, in fact, swingers that wanted to get in my pants at the start. I don't know what to do with these feelings. It's part of why I started therapy. I finally recognized that I don't have the tools to break this problem down on my own. But therapy has moved slow, and I have felt like I don't have anyone else to talk to about this, if even just to tell me that I'm thinking too hard and need to get my head out of my ass. I'm finding that as I'm trying to talk about these emotions to my partner, even as I do my best to remind myself that she is better now, I still find that I feel unsafe to share my feelings with her. It feels like she's had all the space in our conversations for so long that I can't hardly bring myself to try anymore. That it'll just end up with me trying to speak truthfully about how I feel, her panicking about me not feeling 100% fulfilled in our relationship, and me working to bring her back down instead of saying what I want to say again. How do I get past all this? We started our first couples therapy session 2 weeks ago, and I'm hopeful that that will be fruitful, but I just don't know. I know in my head that I should be able to recognize that she has changed, but for some reason I can't get past it, and I need an outside perspective. I haven't been able to speak about this to anyone else because I don't want to make her out to be some monster. Sorry, this post has gone on a lot longer than I was hoping to keep it. I feel like I should add that I was no shining example of a partner in our early years. I talked to a girl while we were in freshman year, but I ended up saying, "Hey, this isn't right. I'm done talking to you. A year later, went through my phone and found those old texts and blew up, crying and screaming that I had cheated on her. It was wrong of me, and we moved past it, but I was definitely not great myself. I would like to think I'm a good man now, but a part of me wonders if I would end up as the same person I am today if we had separated. Who's to say? TLDR, my wife and I have been together for about 8 years now, and she was somewhat abusive to me in our early years together. Thought I was happy for a long time. Ended up going to therapy and figuring out that I'm not as happy as I had convinced myself. Complications are that she got better, and I should be able to recognize that, but I'm left with these feelings that I'm not sure what to do with.